psychologist by training, and I've been involved in supporting women and couples for a really super long length of time. This presentation today is on the importance of caring for your nervous system and stress response during IVF. So warm welcome. Why does this matter in IVF? Well, IVF can be emotionally and at times physically demanding. And of course, as we try to engage emotionally and deal with all the different elements of IVF treatment, and let alone just the experience we're already coming to when we engage in IVF, the stress response can really be activated. And I'll talk a little bit more about how does that happen. And I think the really important message through this presentation is that the stress response is really essentially there to try and serve you. And it's not your fault. Evolutionary sort of design of the nervous system is that it's operating faster than our conscious mind. And it really is trying to, importantly engage and support yourself through the environment that you're managing. And so it's trying to do its job. So learning to care for our stress response, learning to care and understand what's happening in our nervous system can really support well-being and can really support the sort of highs and lows of the journey through IVF. And part of this presentation is emphasising the role that compassion has in really supporting that care of our nervous system, and particularly engaging in ways to help us feel safer and more resilient. A little bit more about our nervous system. You might already have heard these words, fight or flight. You may not have heard as much the words rest and digest, but they speak to two critical elements of our autonomic nervous system, which is this incredibly extensive, complex wiring of nerves that relate to hormones and important glands throughout our body, right from our sort of lower thirds of our, 2/3 of our brain, right extensively through our whole body. So it's a real mind-body dynamic at play, and it has two significant areas. It has the sympathetic system, which is like the accelerator. It speeds us up and gets us moving and acting, but is critically involved when we feel that we're under enormous levels of stress, and that's where the fight-flight system is really orientated and engaged in supporting us under risk and threat. And we have the parasympathetic system, which plays a really important role in the brake, slowing down that accelerated dynamic. And it really serves our body in terms of facilitating ourselves to rest, relax, digest our food. So they're both very, very important in terms of our survival, our ability to manage. And so with something as important as IVF, as a person goes through periods of uncertainty, periods of waiting, engaging in different medical procedures, you can understand that the sympathetic system, that accelerator, can be on a lot. This is where I want to introduce a compassion-focused approach to caring for that, propensity for the sympathetic system to be sort of overly dominant, through medical treatment and dealing with all the different elements. So compassion-focused therapy was developed by a wonderful psychologist in the UK called Dr. Paul Gilbert. And it was particularly developed to help people with feelings of shame, self-criticism and anxiety. I had the pleasure of meeting him once and having some training with him. And what I learnt was that particularly we as humans are at risk of those feelings when there's a gap between where we are and where we want to be. There's a real sort of tendency in the way we relate to ourselves that we can start to feel these feelings. And so he really worked with really good evidence-based research to look at the application of really intentionally activating responses of care, soothingness and kindness to really mobilise the soothing systems within our brain and our nervous system to ameliorate, soothe, heal those responses to ourselves as we're engaging in challenging situations, and as we're talking about here, particularly through IVF. So he helped me understand a way to sort of think about our emotional, hormonal, psychological, biological systems by sort of bringing them together in three major systems: our threat system, our drive system, and our soothing system. These are three major systems within your own mind-body complex. The threat system there is to really mobilise your resources, as we've already mentioned, that accelerator to deal with risk and danger. And the drive system is the motivating system, which is really there to get us moving and acting and following goals and completing things, that sort of real push. And then the soothing system is the place where we can really rest, recover, restore, create equilibrium back in our nervous system and hormonal system and cardiac system and digestive system, so that we can rest and recover and to feel connected to others. So you can appreciate how, particularly we're at risk, or anyone's at risk when we're under stressful situations, that we can have particularly dominant our threat system and our drive system. And so what this presentation is about is inviting you to consider how you might learn to respond intentionally more to yourself, so that you can activate, switch on the soothing system to get more balance in relationship to those other two. Yeah, so the takeaway message from this presentation really is inviting you to think about how you might more purposely, intentionally create ways to relate to yourself in a more soothing way, develop routines throughout your week and weekend that really engage that soothing system within your own mind-body complex. So yeah, this next slide has some really good examples of how to, in real time, look after your nervous system. So, practical soothing techniques. I think the really critical principle in learning how to really soothe your nervous system is the principle of slow. So rhythmic, slow, deep breaths, really taking in a long, deep breath to the count of 4 with a pause at the top, and then a long out breath to the count of 4 with a pause at the end, is just one of the most simplest ways to start to engage the soothing system within your own nervous system, to start to give the message to your body that you can start to rest. Now, I know that in a really busy super day, that just seems like, how can that make a difference? Well, if you do that short times, many times, all throughout your day and through your evening, just pausing, tuning into your body, intentionally having the thought, I need to slow down, and drawing in a long, deep breath and a long out breath, you are making a difference to your nervous system. And also, you're drawing your mind to your breath. And in that moment, you're giving yourself a little mini break from all those thoughts that run through your head and heart, with worry and fear and concern and sadness. You are doing something for yourself. Another way to sort of just keep facilitating the energy of soothingness is to place a hand on your heart and get a bit of skin contact. When you do that, you're activating oxytocin into your body, the love hormone. So can you imagine if you place your hand on your heart and take a big deep breath, you are really connecting to that sort of sense of compassion and warmth. And I'm feeling it right now. Some other really lovely ways to sort of get into compassion and connection is imagining a really special place in your world. It could be a special tree. It could be a lovely place that you go on holidays. It could be a place where you first met your partner. It could be a place where you love walking with your dog. But going to that place or imagining it in your mind and really painting the picture in your mind can start to activate just naturally the soothing system qualities of your nervous system. Another really effective way is really learning compassionate self-talk. I think one of the best ways to do that is to imagine that your dear friend is experiencing the feelings that you're having, and imagining the sorts of kind, soothing, wonderful things that you say to your dear friend. And as you do that imaginary sort of dialogue to them, your body will start to respond. And then you can maybe even turn it around and bring it to yourself. A very common way to try and do that is writing yourself a compassionate letter. qualities of compassion, the desire to ease the suffering in your experience, the wish to be happy. If they're the qualities within your letter, as you're writing it, you are engaging those soothing systems within your own nervous system. So here are a few short examples I've given you. They might be super familiar to you already. You could try and schedule them throughout your week and through the months of your IVF treatment. And if you'd like to explore it further, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. It's been a wonderful opportunity to be able to talk about something that I really care about. And thank you.